Morning everybody, happy Tuesday. No idea what I'm doing today. I mean work, and then... That traffic was pretty brutal. See you guys in 8 hours or so. I'm playing around with my Canon picture style. So this image should look significantly more saturated and slightly more contrasted than what you just saw, which was, well, seconds ago for you, 8 hours ago for me. Tonight I'm gonna give you a little something to put in your bag of tricks. It's sort of a all-purpose vocal chain. It'll be made of an equalizer and two compressors. Alright, now before we get into it, just a real quick recap on how to properly use your microphone. Good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. Good, bad, bad, really bad. Also, it's worth noting there is a front and a back to most of these large diaphragm cardioids. You can usually tell by the logo. Now for the EQ, I'm gonna draw you a picture because I don't want to use exact numbers. Your voice is your voice, it's not my voice, so it's gonna be a little different for you than it is for me. Now, have a look at this. Okay, so first thing, you want to roll off everything below 80. This is where your P's and your B's and your D's blow out the diaphragm of the microphone a little bit. Roll off 80 and it's gonna help with the compressor later on. You want somewhere between 150 and 440 to be 1 decibel below 0. Crossing over, you want somewhere between 1 and 3K to be 1 decibel above 0. This is going to be completely dependent upon your voice. Then this up here, somewhere around 16,000 hertz or above, you want to take a high shelf and just crank it up super loud. You could even do like +8. It adds breathiness to your vocal, and every vocal could benefit from a little bit of extra breathiness. Alright, now for a little allegory. Christmas lights. There's two types. There's the cheap type and there's the expensive type. Do you know the difference? The cheap type are wired in series and the expensive ones are wired in parallel. On a cheap strand of Christmas lights, if one of them pops, the entire line goes out. That's because electricity passes through each light bulb on its way to the next. If one of them goes out, it breaks the chain in electricity, and electricity cannot pass from point A to point B. The whole strand doesn't work. Now, Christmas lights that are wired in parallel, that means that for each light individually, there's two wires. One that does not attach to the light, and one that does. So that way, if one of the lights in the strand goes out, the entire strand does not go out. It just gets passed through that secondary wire. But that's twice as much cabling, that's why it's a lot more expensive. Now, all audio can benefit from musical compression, and the more of it, the better, if you ask me, and if you ask Andrew Sheps. Parallel compression is a completely different, way more complicated beast that we will get into in another episode, not today. But compressing in series is fairly simple. All it means is that you put a compressor on the audio, then you put another compressor directly after it. In the Christmas light analogy, if we were dealing with analog compressors and the first one blew, audio wouldn't get to pass into the second compressor. Yeah, that works. Okay, so why two compressors? Will, what are you doing? You're ruining it. No, I'm not. See, you can use a compressor for many different things, and I'm using two compressors in a row to tackle two different problems with the audio. The first one is going to tackle all of your crazy, out-of-control peaks and valleys. So when you start a sentence really loud and then you sort of trail off a little bit, it actually brings all the audio together into a usable volume. So when you start a sentence really loud and then you sort of trail off a little bit, it actually brings all the audio together into a usable volume. The second compressor is going to level off that volume and make it even more accurate. However, the second compressor, the way we're setting it, would not work if the first compressor isn't there. So tell me, Will, what are the magic settings? I would take the time to talk you through each one of these numbers, but you don't want to pay attention that hard, nor do you want to take the notes. So, a picture paints 1,000 words. Very briefly, this threshold may vary depending on how loud or how quiet you recorded your audio. You need to adjust the makeup gain to the threshold. Same situation happens with this threshold and this ratio. So with a setup like this, you can take a vocal that sounds like this and turn it into a vocal that sounds like this. So there you go. Magic vocal chain works every time, guaranteed. If it doesn't, hit me up and I'll show you what you did wrong with the setup. That's all I got for you tonight. See you guys bright and early in the morning.